I'm actually back making a real video for once. Yeah, I'm here, believe it or not. Um, what do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about the hybrid system people. You know, the people who believe in the capitalist for mixed with like socialism systems, the Nordic models or whatever, the Norways or whatever. I wish these people could realize their systems are still deeply flawed and need to be moved on from. I wish these people could look at the fact that their systems still rely on like taxation of the rich, for example, and that they can't rely on that as their populations decline, the amount of taxes they take in are decreasing. I wish they would realize that, the oil and gas that they rely so heavily on, when they run out of that, what are they going to do for countries like Norway? I mean, they're already seeing problems in Europe because they can't get the gas and the cheap natural resources from Russia anymore, and their systems are collapsing across Europe in general as a result. But I'm specifically talking about Nordic models when it comes to like the oil and gas stuff, and they diversify their economy, away from that. Maybe that'd be a good move. I'm just saying. I wish that they'd understand that their systems still rely on heavy amounts of exploitation, especially among the private sector, and relying heavily on third world countries. And a lot of their private companies in their countries are actually quite exploitative and bad as well. You could look into the Norwegian fishing industry, for example. Not great. You could look into what they did to Iceland, too. I'm not going to go into a whole video about that. There are people who are smarter and more aware of what they did there than I am who could probably explain it better, but you could go into that. My point is that I'm not trying to convert you guys over to hardcore socialism or hardcore communism because I'm not a communist. I don't believe in end goals of communism like disillusionment of the state personally. I'll say something controversial that'll still upset a lot of you, which is I think communists are better than capitalists, and I'd take communism over capitalism. That a controversial take? And I think communists are allies in the defeat of capitalism. That might be a controversial take. When it comes down to it in the end, we'll debate over what replaces capitalism, and I wouldn't say communism, but they're allies to me overall. And that might be a controversial take slash stance I've come to recently. But I don't want to get into that necessarily. I just want to say what I find frustrating is that you guys can't realize that it's time to move on from your system. It really is. It's okay to say, hey, I'm not a fan of like the far right stuff that's risen up around the world. I'm not a fan of communism. It's okay to say that. But you don't have to prop up the Nordic model. You have to prop up the failed, hybrid systems of Europe that are showing that they don't work either. You can admit something controversial here. This might be controversial. It's time for something new. Maybe, in my opinion, what should be the replacement, what I go more with, is eco-socialism, right? It's a green energy revolution. It's a more eco-socialist type of a system. And I mean left of like I'm not talking like German Green Party style. I mean like actual eco-socialism. That's my alternative system. You don't have to adopt that system. You don't even have to say full on hardcore, eco-socialism is your system. But it's okay to admit that the Nordic model is still deeply flawed and that when you reform and move away and make changes, you won't have a hybrid system anymore. It won't be capitalist. It's okay to admit that. You can admit that and still not be a communist. You can admit that and still not be a hardcore, right-wing lunatic or something. And I just don't get why the hybrid system people sit here vehemently defending their system, even though it's like slowly but surely failing them. Very slowly over time, but it is. And it's still proven to have deep flaws. Like, for example, I know with a lot of the Nordic countries, they struggle with population stuff. And how's that going to work out taxes-wise for paying for your safety nets? I don't see it. I know a lot of the Nordic countries are struggling with energy problems. A lot of countries in Europe in general, again, because of Russia. I'm repeating myself, but my point is, it doesn't work. Does it work better than full-on capitalism? Yes. Is it something you would rather have than, say, communism? If that's your opinion, I understand. I'm not a full on communist. Again, I think communism is better than capitalism and their allies to me, even though I don't want in the end their system. I'll take that system over capitalism if it comes down to it though. But it's okay to admit that's time for something else. That's the point that I'm trying to get at, and I don't get how you guys can't see this. It could be eco-socialism. It could be even full-on communism if you want to adopt it. Whatever it is. It's time for something else. It could be some sort of like zeitgeisty thing, right? Like the resource-based economy thing that some people are into. It has to be something else, though. Your system is stagnated out. It doesn't work. It works better than other systems, sure, but does it actually full-on work? The answer is no. It's a lesser of the evils, is the way I look at it, and not even a great one at that. It relies, again, too much on exploitation of the global south, too reliant on taxes, which you don't have the populations to maintain, and I could go on and on. There's a reason why the right-wing parties are rising back up in some of these Nordic countries, because people are seeing that, it's not working too well. And again, I don't know why their alternative, what their solution to it not working is these crazy right-wing parties, but seems to be their alternative. But I digress. The point I'm getting at is it's time for something else. I'd argue give eco-socialism a chance, but you decide. But it can't be this hybrid system anymore. It's okay to admit this. And you can still say, I'm not a communist. You can still say, I'm not a hardcore capitalist right-winger. You could do both. And I just don't get why so many of you can't accept that. I'm going to leave you with that.